Hey guys, welcome to Coaching with Chris. I'm pretty excited because we're doing our bonus round and I have Chris Welton here today. We're going to dive into some coaching, talk about his book, talk about his career. I think you're going to love it and you're going to walk away with some tips that I think are going to help you in this current market. So Chris, how are you?
Man, I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
What's the deal with this ball cap? What do you got going on here?
I just
Oh,
wear
you're
the
covering
hat.
it up. You didn't want to look like a ball guy like me.
No, I tell you what happened
Now put it back on so you're
the
comfortable.
the logo behind me on the wall, when I have without a hat on, it looks like I have a giant afro. Not saying there's anything wrong with the giant afro, but it looks like that until I have a new piece being ordered for that. So I've been wearing a ball cap instead. So there's that.
That is totally inside your head and is not true.
Oh, Renee told me that's what it looked like.
Renee.
Yeah.
Anything I say is going to haunt me on that. So I know.
Same here. Same here.
So he will call me out. Listen, so for those of you who know, Chris and I go way back. We worked together in the Windsor side. He works for a company that I believe in, and my good friend Jason and BJ, they were all would you consider you guys like all the way back to middle school or high school?
I mean, Jason and I go all the way back to elementary school. So I'll be 52 tomorrow. So
Happy birthday.
44 years, I guess, something along those lines.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So let's go to your career. I mean, I wrote 3 things. I wrote 4 things down that I think our audience really wants to hear. Number 1, your career. Number 2, your book. Number 3, your current passions and what you're doing today in the industry. And then 4, maybe a few LO tips, because I know you're coaching some LOs, and we'll get into that if that's something that you want to talk about, if they to get connected with you. But your career. So to speed his career up for a second is what I love is we both came from the car business. We both ended up in the mortgage business, and we both have a huge passion for coaching. So like, walk me through this, in a sense, this career that has led you to what you're doing today.
Well, I had a long career in the automotive industry, selling cars and becoming general manager and working my way through 20 plus years in that industry, which I think is the best sales training on the planet, except maybe some door-to-door stuff you could do. But selling cars is definitely, you learn that no is a requirement to get yes, right? And I was teaching that today on one of my coaching client calls. But so the automotive industry was something that I was able to get into and provide well for my family and learn a lot and grow and just really become the person I am today, understanding sales and business. Learned a lot of things that you shouldn't do and how not to treat people as well. So that was the learning process of getting through that whole car business, from selling to managing to everything along those lines. The mortgage space just seemed like a natural transition for me. Sales, mentorship, front facing sales. You're in front of people. You can't be afraid to have conversations. And so the mortgage space seemed like a great transition for me. And my best friend of 40 plus years, Jason, and his dad started a mortgage company along with BJ. And we talked for years about me relocating back to Florida and becoming part of the business. And it was always like, okay, well, when's this going to happen? When's going to happen? And finally, the stars aligned. I was in a dealership situation in Kokomo, Indiana, that didn't end the way I thought it was going to end. Most car dealership jobs don't. They lots of turnover, and I was asked to leave. So things happen, and the timing just happened to line up. And I made the move back to Florida in 2016, and got integrated right away with certified mortgage planners, and really got into understanding sales process and just different pieces of what they were trying to accomplish in the direction where we wanted to go. And I brought that higher level management. I mean, I've managed up to 500 people at a time. So I brought that higher level management and the sales, outside sales strategies into what they had as a mortgage business that was doing well already, but we were able to really do some special things the time I was there.
There come a time where it was speaking to you, you wanted more.
Yes. Yeah.
And walk me through that. Like, I feel like from an outside perspective, there was, in a sense, I don't know, a calling.
Yeah, it really was. It was, it first happened when I walked into a room with Renee Rodriguez for the first time. And we started working at Amplify and kind of telling the story. Then I got comfortable with telling my story. And then I've always been coached. And my coach is like, you should get into coaching some, just because you do a good job when you come to these calls, you bring a lot of content as well. So I started dipping my toe in the coaching space a little bit. And then what I realized was, and I think COVID really helped understand this, is that unfortunately, most people, I'd say 80% of the people that work at a job just want a paycheck. And that's okay if that's what they want to do. 20%, on a high number, it's probably more like 10 or 15, want to grow and learn and want to be taught by their leadership to be better, do more, impact more lives. And I got to a spot where I was like, okay, how do I impact more lives? I feel like I've impacted as many people as I can inside this company right now. I'm kind of there. I feel like I've hit the end of the road with it. So why don't I go start my own coaching business? Why don't I get on more stages? Why don't I start a podcast, write a book? And all these things just started coming to me. And you're right, Chris, I feel like it was a calling for me. And I'm really enjoying every day of that. Now, my relationship with Jason and BJ made that possible because they gave me flexibility to do the things I wanted to do, because I was still able to get my job done, right? But they also allowed me time on company hours to go do other things to grow this business. And when we had our conversation, it was time for me to move on. It was not a surprise, right? I mean, they just saw that it was coming, and we left on great terms, but it was a calling for me. And I enjoy every moment of getting on coaching calls now and helping people grow and get through to that next level. And man, I know I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now.
What came first? Because you talk about your book, which we want to talk about.
Yeah.
We talk about coaching. We talk about speaking. What came first for you? Because, maybe now is as good a time as ever, but I feel like there's two things happening in the mortgage industry. There's a lot of people that want to get into coaching, and then there is a lot of people that want coaching or are ready to make a shift to a different coach. And I don't even know which one you want to cover first out of that. But when I was thinking about this morning, when I was driving in, I was thinking about, what am I going to ask Chris today? And I think I just got to stay relative to what the market really is, what's going on with inside that market. So which one do you want to cover first? And by the way, on the comment section, if you're getting coached, we would love to know. Or you want to get coached, we would love to know, because it like sets out that maybe we have that pulse right, or maybe we have that pulse wrong. So please comment in that comment section, just because we love to know. We don't care who your coach is, just wanting to know if you're currently getting coached or not. But Chris, where do you want to start with this?
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to speak at an event in 2022. It had already been kind of working with coaching internally inside of CMP, coaching some of our loan officers and groups and individuals, and just holding to accountability standards, because that's what I was being done with my coach. Bill Hart was my coach for a long time.
Okay.
And then I got on stage and I spoke at this event in Charleston, South Carolina, to a room of a couple hundred realtors. And when I got off the stage, I said, you know what? I need to do more of that. More people came and asked me questions. I could tell I impacted people's lives by what had happened on stage and the stories, and I was relatable to them. I'm like, okay, how do I do more of that? How do I feel more like that? Well, the craziest thing happens the next day. I'm getting ready to leave Charleston, South Carolina, fly back to Florida. There's a hurricane, right? I mean, those happen. So I have a 9-hour layover at the airport. 9 hours. I'm sitting inside the airport with my Remarkable, which is right here. I don't leave home without it, right? All my notes are in there from even back from then. And I start breaking down what my end date is going to be. When am I going to exit the position I'm in? And when am I going to start the next thing I want to do? And what does that look like? What do I want it to be? How do I want to create it? Okay, well, what's going to hold me back from doing it? What are the fears? Like, what's this look like? And I mean, 9 hours at an airport, you got a lot of stuff to do, right? You can only, I'm not a big drinker or anything, so I wasn't sitting at the bar and doing that. And it was the Charleston airport, which is, very small. So I just diagrammed what I wanted my future to look like. And I got so crystal clear and deliberate with it. I couldn't help but take action the next day. And that's what happened. And I said, okay, how do you build a coaching business? Well, mainly by referrals is how that starts out. So I started talking to more people, finding out who they were coached by. What were the gaps? What did that look like? Would they talk to me about some coaching? Then I had to make sure, am I operating at a high enough level to ask for those referrals, right? What makes me special as a coach? Well, I've lost a lot in my life, been through businesses and just crazy things, bad marriages, you name it. I've probably been there through it. So that brings, I had to strategize to work through those things. So I felt I had I had a credibility from the coaching space. We talk about proof. I had proof I've done all the things I'm going to ask you to do. So I hope that answers that question, Chris. It was the stage that really impacted me and then made me decide that coaching is where I'm at. And I'm doing some other stuff too we can talk about as we get further through on the coaching space that I've learned over the last year, because August 31st of last year was my last day in the mortgage space, right? Mm-hmm. And so September 1st, just a little over a year ago, I went all in on Chris Welton and with my coaching.
So you started this coaching, you started getting some students and you started coaching these students. Now you coach them one-on-one or in groups?
So I started one-on-one. I have one-on-one clients right now. And then I have a new group coaching program that I just had. We had our twice a month, we have a group call. We had it today at 10 a.m. So I'm building out the group platform right now as well.
Okay.
It started out one-on-one.
Started off one-on-one.
Yeah.
You got this coaching group going and you're like, I need a book, or like, what was the trigger on the book?
So the book's a whole other thing, right? So this is, look, what you'll find out if you don't know me, you've never had me before. I'm one of those people that says, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. I made up my mind to do it. I'm going to go after it and make it happen. And the funny thing is I spent most of my childhood trying to stop Jason from doing the things he said he was going to do. Like he saved his life from jumping his bike off a roof, you just name the things we did. But so when I say I'm going to do something, I go after it. Right. And I'm very tenacious about that. So what I'd realized is if I wanted to grow, I had to get into other rooms. I had to figure out a way where I had to pay to get into some rooms. And I've paid some big prices to get in some masterminds and some different rooms to learn from people. But how could I connect differently? So I see Bradley on social media and he says this thing, hey, send one Jordan shoe to a guy and with a handwritten note and they'll call you back and connect. I'm like, well, I'm a huge Jordan shoe fan. Chris and I have a love of shoes. We talk about that almost every time we see each other. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try that. So I did it. I got a shoe size for Damon West. I sent a handwritten note, sent off to Damon West. A few weeks later, I get a call from Damon West. I'm like, dude, that worked. So Damon and I have become really good friends over the last couple of years. So then I sent one off to Ben Newman, who's my coach now. And I sent off to Ben. Ben responds right away. We get on a call and I've been working with Ben for almost 2 years now, December of 2022. So after I did this 3 or 4 times and it worked, I was like, man, I'm going to write a book about this. So I started doing the research and got with Game Changer Publishing and some other places and decided figure out what was going to take to make this happen. So I wrote a book about all the stories on all the relationships I built from sending one Jordan. Now, what I did was I one of the speaking things I do, a keynote I give is called break the cycle, upgrade your circle. Right. So I wanted to break the cycle I had myself in over and over and over again. Right. And get out of that and find a new circle. And it wasn't anything against the circle I was in. I just felt like I had reached the potential I could personally with the people I was with. Right. I was around. So by the one Jordan, I've gotten into some rooms that are just incredible. And when you respond to someone that you want to check, like my assistant emails somebody want to set up a meeting and it says that I'm a best-selling author in the signature line, you get meetings. Like, that's like, it's crazy how that works. Right. So, and I get on stages because I'm a best-selling author. So the book was to figure out a way to change the circle, to get more contacts and be in relationships with more people. And it's worked. I'll share my largest success story of the book with you guys. So after the book's published, it's out, I get John Maxwell shoe size. And in my space, my career of choice, John Maxwell is the GOAT. Like he's the Michael Jordan of the speaking and coaching space. If you don't know who he is, Google him. I was somewhere the other day and these people didn't know who John Maxwell was, which I thought was incredibly interesting, which gives me hope because they knew who Chris Welton was. So there's that, right? So I send John Maxwell the shoe. John Maxwell calls me and we have a great conversation. And then he starts posting, like he starts speaking at events about Chris Welton and the one Jordan technique that he used to connect with him. He teaches this whole thing about getting out of the people pile. So I have people DMing me on LinkedIn and Instagram I've never met before. They said, hey, I'd like to talk to you. John Maxwell just talked to you about you on stage. So think about that. This guy that was in the mortgage business a year ago had never met John Maxwell, gets Maxwell's shoe size, sends one shoe, builds a relationship. I have John Maxwell's phone number in my phone. I text him randomly. He responds. We have conversations via text. I'm actually sharing a stage with him. We're both giving a keynote in Charleston next month.
Nice.
And I went to an event with John Maxwell in Nashville, Tennessee back in the spring after all this happened. I walk into a room, Chris. This is like, every time I tell the story, I get chills. It's the craziest thing ever. I walk into the room. Maxwell's over there. Everybody's standing around talking. And I walk over and I said, hey, John, I'm Chris Welton. And he stops the room. He gets his own phone out of his pocket, gives it to somebody and says, hey, take a picture of me with Chris. John Maxwell wanted a picture of me, right? Like just incredible, all because I took the initiative to send him one shoe and try to build a relationship with somebody who I feel is the GOAT. And how do I change my circle? Well, do something like that to connect. So that's how the book came about. And it's been amazing. I mean, the success of the book's been great. It was on a billboard in Times Square back in June. I mean, it was just like here I am in Times Square. It's up on the billboard. I joke. I say, I always thought I'd be on a billboard in Times Square, but like America's Most Wanted probably. But like, yeah, here I am on a billboard,
Yeah, that's so cool. You're living your dream, which is,
I am.
It's very fun to watch, and watching you grow into that space, grow into your network. I can't imagine you starting into this program that you could actually look back and say how far you've really come.
Yeah,
like it's gotta be like.
I did exercise on that about a month ago with my coach. He said, hey, let's sit down what we've done this year. I want you to write down everything you've accomplished this year. And I was like, there's no way I did all that. Like, I really, I couldn't believe the things that came into place. And what I drew from that is that anytime now when I face a challenge, I've got receipts, man. I've got receipts that what I said I was going to do, I did, right? Yeah. Here it is. I said I was going to do this. I did it. I had a great job. I had a comfortable job. I could have worked there the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But I wasn't fulfilled, right? So I wanted to go do something different and I gambled on it. And look, those of you again don't know me. I have a 9-month-old baby. Like my son is on the other end of my house right now with my nanny and my wife's at her medical practice today. And like, it wasn't just some guy that just took a risk on his own. I got family. So I mean, like I had to make this work. So, but I just felt that if I got out there, and once I started meeting people, Chris, I realized there's not a lot of difference between the people that are at the top of the game and the people that are in the middle. It's a slim line. And you can become that if you're willing to put in the work and the consistency and take right action.
Yeah. Going through you building that book, I think there's a lot of lessons. I'm going to go back to something before I go to the book real quick, which is there's a difference between saying it and thinking it and writing it down. It feels like you wrote it down into that airport, which then did it make it real? Because I feel like loan officers, we say we're going to do these things. We say we're thinking about these new goals, building this team, doing this, doing that, going on my own. etc. But there was something that I feel like happened to you when you wrote it down.
Yeah, there's the belief, right? So I believed that I could actually do it. And I think the timing was right. I got off this stage. I felt like I had massive impact on people's lives. And then I just used that I transferred that belief to paper or to the Remarkable, my digital notebook here. And I believed when I wrote it down, I could do it. And I think that's one of the things that, again, is different than me is I believe it. You know, I believe it's so funny because I can look back at things in my life and those of you that don't know me, I was born with a limb difference. I'm missing half my left arm, but you never could have told me that I couldn't compete on any sporting event on any level. Like, I just felt like I was good enough. Like, I just believed that I could compete with you. So I think that's why this process, I believed in it, but I don't want to discount my wife. She believes in me too, right? She's like, I know if you put your mind and heart to it, you're going to do it. It's going to happen. Yeah. And when you have that support system there as well, man, there's not much you can't do. But I still do this today. Like, it went off as soon as we started this call earlier on my phone 3 times a day in my reminders app. It says goals. You can see that it says goals 2. There's the second time for today. And my goals are in there. And I look at them 3 times a day and I really focus on what they are. And here's the craziness behind this. When you do that, you're 1,100 times more likely to hit your goals if you see them 3 times a day.
For sure.
Like,
for sure.
How simple is that task?
Yeah.
Instead, most people write their goals out for the year, Chris, and when do they look at them again? Next year.
Next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't keep them in front of them. You're coaching a lot. And most of my listeners are either entrepreneurs, loan officers, realtors. And, what are you concentrating today? And what are you coaching your students to make an impact today?
It's really, first, it's not a one size fits all, because I've got people that are in all different areas of their career. I mean, I've got one guy that's going to make $15 million this year. When I started coaching him, he was making $2 million a year. Right. So like, he's different. We coach different things with him than we do with the people that are struggling. And the biggest thing right now is that for the people in the real estate and mortgage space, there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of business to be had. And if you get on a call with me and you're telling me that the market's down and everybody's telling you how bad it is, then you're talking to the wrong people. Because I've got several people, and I know you do too, Chris, that are doing very well, right? They're doing very well. We know a lot of people in this space that are doing well. So the first thing is to understand that there's opportunity in every market. I don't care what market it is. There's opportunity in it. You just have to figure it out. And I went through this whole thing the other day. I said, everybody's got this COVID brain, and I don't mean getting COVID, but the work aspect of the COVID brain. They base everything they're doing right now off those crazy numbers we did in 2020 and 2021. And then they get discouraged and they're letting themselves down. Well, what did you do in 2019? What did you do in 2018? Okay. Mm-hmm. Do you remember how hard business was in 2020 and 2021? It was the hardest business I'd ever worked in my life. We closed a lot of deals, but I literally was on the phone with your daughter more than I was with my wife, because that's all we did was run pipelines 7 days a week. Like, right. It was incredibly hard. So you had to figure out a way to make it work. We did. And if you're listening to this and you don't do business with Windsor Mortgage, Chris saved our lives through COVID. So like, his company was without a doubt the reason why we thrived. But people look at that and they thought it was easy. Well, it wasn't easy. Now it's something different. So what are we going to do different? Right. And so many people are neglecting their databases. They're not doing the work. Show me that you really want to go get it done by showing me your calendar. And that's the first thing I do with a lot of my clients. We get on, pull your calendar up, screen share. I'm like, why are there so many holes in your calendar? What are we doing to make stuff happen? I mean, like, it's the real estate space. If you stay consistent and find the niches, the riches are in the niches, you can thrive in any market. And I don't care what it is. It's because one of my clients who's just built a special business in Ohio, when we first started coaching 2 years ago, Chris, his plan, I want to move out west. My kids are hockey players, and there's a special hockey schools out in Colorado. I want to move out there. He's got this unbelievable real estate team in Columbus, Ohio. So we figured it out. We mapped it out. We hired the right people. We put things in place. And what did he do? He's been in Columbus. He's been in Colorado Springs for the last 2 months. His family's out there now. Wow. And his business is thriving. He had one of his best months he's ever had in the business. And he's in Denver and his team's in Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, how do I find the right coach for me? If I'm thinking about coaching and I'm a loan officer, I'm a realtor, I'm even an entrepreneur, like, because I know you coach not just one area, all areas. How do I pick the right coach for me?
It's a great question. I think that's something that moves, and it's not the right coach today might not be the right coach in 2 years from now, right? My goal as a coach is to coach you at such a high level I can't coach you anymore. Like, you need somebody better than me. So I think the first thing is just having some conversations with the coach. What kind of questions does that coach ask you? I've got a breakdown of questions. We go deep. We find out what's holding them back and see if it's a good fit. If someone just wants to bring you on as a client just because you can pay, that's not the right relationship. And I think too many times that's what that looks like. But also,
let's go to that one though. Ask me 3 questions that if I was a potential student that you would ask me, so that the audience could really get a feel of it. I'll see if I can answer. I don't know. Maybe I can't. But like, what would you ask me if I was a potential student? Because I think you're different that way.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I ask is, have you ever been coached?
My answer would be yes.
Yes. Okay. So in your coaching relationships, do you remember what worked and what didn't work?
I'm weird. I like to be beat on and praised. So I like the combination of both.
Okay. So are you currently being coached right now?
Yes.
Okay. Are you getting both those things out of your current coach?
I think I'm getting too much praise today because of the fear I could leave.
Okay. Have you had that conversation with your coach?
No.
Why not?
I would say because it's a lot of effort to switch coaches, and yet I know I should. So I know I should. I've outgrown my coach. I have 2. I know I've outgrown both coaches.
Yeah.
But it's comfortable. So the answer is,
okay,
I'm being comfortable and I am not getting myself to the next level.
I know you too well that being comfortable is not something that you need to be doing. Like, that's just not who you are. I mean, this is me knowing Chris Vincent now, getting off the script.
I know. And I'm answering it authentic and real.
Yeah. Oh, I know you are. I know you are. And I think that the big thing is, comfortable doesn't win the race, right? I mean, like, I don't want to be comfortable. Like, I know everything about you. I know about you. You didn't get from being comfortable. Okay. So where is it you want to go next? Because you're not going to get there being comfortable. You have 2 incredible kids in the mortgage space, right? They're not going to get anywhere from being comfortable. And I sure as heck hope they don't think that dad's being comfortable right now, because that's not a good sign. Like, I mean,
well, I never tell them that stuff.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, that's what it comes down to, Chris. Like, I agree. You've built something so special, and you have outgrown your coaches, just like most people have. I've outgrown coaches, and it's time for me to move on and find somebody else that's going to challenge me and ask those questions. But you should feel incredibly comfortable saying to them, hey, you're not pushing me the right way. And I check in with my clients all the time. What could I do to be a better coach? Be honest with me. Like, let's go. Like, and I think that's different for me, is that every time I get on a coaching call, I feel like I'm going to get fired. Every time.
The fear.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, that's what motivates me to be a great coach, is to get on there and go, dude, I got to do everything I can on this coaching call to make sure I don't get fired.
So as a student though, right? Which is a great perspective from a coach side, but as a student side, what would be the one question that you would want them to ask a potential coach every single time before they hire them?
That's a great question. I mean, I'd want to know about their losses. It's not a one question thing with them. Like, where have you failed? Where have you failed? I think too many times coaches get on and they're trying so hard to sell because they need to get that new client signed up, and they become success zombies, right? Like, this is what I did. I built all this stuff. And like, where have you failed? Like, I want to know where you failed personally and professionally, because I'm going to need, and I know this is business and coaching, but there's still some counseling, some personal relationship stuff that goes with the right coaching relationship. I've got to know what makes you tick behind the scenes to be able to make it all work in the business place of business too. So I'd want to know, where have you failed? Right? Are you, and the other thing is, are you being coached? Like, you'd be amazed the number of people that are coaches that aren't coached. I'm like, how are you not being, like, I don't understand. Like, I don't get that. So are you being coached? And where have you failed?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are really good. Really, really good. LO tips to being able to build. You talked about building impact and influence. And you wrote a book. I'm not thinking that a lot of LOs are going to go through that. I mean, it's a lot of work to write a book. So maybe that's not an easy one, but like, what do I do today, tomorrow, to be able to put into my calendar to start to build influence and impact in my area, my farm, however you want to call it, but your town. What would you coach me in doing that?
I mean, we're talking about somebody who's new in the business, or like just.
Yeah. So let's set the screen. I've been in the business. Let's just try to pick the general population. I've been in the business 4 or 5 years. I say I got like 20 realtors. I really got 3. I've got a database of about 500 people. I got a good friend network of probably a couple hundred, probably really good friends, probably 5. And I'm closing 3 loans a month, and something's broken.
Yeah. I mean, first thing I would do is, God, this is so good. I'm glad you asked this question. So, and you and I we learned a lot of this part, the next part, a lot together at some point in our careers. So if you have 20 realtors, supposedly, I would do an accounts pyramid. Like, I would find out where my business is really coming from, and we'd diagnose that first. Where's my business coming from?
You have 500 yourself of where these leads are coming from each month.
Yep, exactly.
Step 1.
And then I would look at my database. How often am I communicating with it? Do I have 500 people, but I haven't talked to them? Have I not touched them? What are we doing? We need to get super intentional with how we're contacting and touching our database and the messaging we're sending to them, and making sure we stay in front of them. If that requires an apology tour and you got to call all 500 people, then that's what you got to do. Okay. But you've got to stay in relationships with those people. When I was taught, when I first learned the mortgage business, one of the first things I learned was I should be able to turn every deal into 4 deals. I should be able to get 3 referrals out of every deal, whether it's from connecting with a listing agent or whatever that may be. But why aren't we doing that? What's our goal look like? I think a lot of times, Chris, you find out when guys closing 3 deals a month, that's all he thinks he can close, right? So let's get the mindset right and figure out why you only think you can close 3 deals. He may only need to close 3 deals. So there's a bunch of different ways to look at it, but also open houses are bread and butter. I don't care what anybody says. Open houses teach you 2 things. One is they teach you how to communicate with realtors you've never met before. And the second one is they keep you on a work schedule and hold you accountable to doing something other than watching game day on Saturday. Like, go hit the open houses. I was talking with one of my top clients yesterday. We had a call last night, another big agent out of Columbus, Ohio. And he says, Chris, I had 53 offers on a property I just had in one neighborhood, 53 offers. So he had someone on his team. He's trying to help them grow. And he said, I want you to go door knock every house in the neighborhood. They wouldn't do it. And he's like, how do you think I grew my business? By door knocking. So today he's going door knocking. This guy doesn't need to go door knocking, but 53 offers. Someone comes and knocks on my door, Chris, and they said, hey, we had 53 offers on the house 2 doors down. It's just like yours. I'm like, okay, well, what's the biggest cash offer you can bring me? Because I'll move. Like I mean, like seriously, right? Like, and I think you would too. So like,
my wife had anxiety, but I would do it.
Yeah, I would too. I know what the front number needs to be on my house. If that front number, someone asks if it starts with this number, then I'm selling. Like, it just is what it is, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's it. I think it comes down to the mindset, understanding that you can do it. Find proof of somebody else that's doing it in your office, whether anything that find somebody else that's doing it, and then you can do it. And the databases are gold mine. Like it's just like nobody's calling anybody. They're not staying on top of it. Like I buy semi-expensive cars. And let me tell you something. The last several cars I bought, no one's called me after I bought it and followed up with me. And I've bought more expensive cars since then from somebody else. Right? Like it's the same thing in the mortgage space. Someone has a big month, they close these deals. They're not calling anybody. They're not building relationships. And it's sad.
It is. It is. Hey, run through some things so they can get to know Chris Welton a little bit better. You ready?
Yeah.
Speed questions. Favorite place to go eat?
Favorite place to go eat. I'm going there for my birthday tomorrow night. It's Christner's Steakhouse in Orlando.
What's next for Chris Welton?
Started writing a new book last week.
If you had to write your new book, which you stole my question, you little bugger, you stole my question. If you had to write a book about your life, what would the title be?
How to overcome adversity one hand at a time.
What would be the perfect number of total students for your company that you would want?
As far as my one-on-one clients or my group?
Yeah, group total. Like, what's the future goal?
I mean, the future goal is 500 in the group. That's what I've mapped out right now. And I've got a date of my date of getting that is 6/11/25. It's 500 in the group. And my one-on-ones, 10, I think is the solid number of one-on-ones. I think there's only so much bandwidth in one-on-one you can do. And how you just have to keep raising your prices to get the higher end of it. The people that are more accountable is how that works.
If I'm going to read one book to create better influence in my career, what should I read?
Well, it's not over here on my desk, but to create better influence, I would read Amplify Your Influence by Renee Rodriguez.
Love that. We should get a plug for that from Renee, shouldn't we?
Yeah.
If I'm going to the greatest person you've met that's changed your career?
Ben Newman.
Why coaching?
Because I want to leave a legacy of impact behind. When I'm gone, I want people to stand around at my funeral or my party of celebration of life and say, Chris Welton impacted my life by X, Y, and Z. And that goes all the way back to the little kids I used to coach in 3rd and 4th grade football, right? Like I've always felt that way. Coaches changed my life. They impacted me and gave me confidence at a young age. I can go back and tell you exactly when those things happened to me. And I want to do the same for other individuals. I believe everybody should be coached regardless of what job or position or anything that you're in.
Nickname.
My nickname? Well, my nickname is Welt Dog.
What?
Welt Dog is my nickname.
Okay.
If you ask all the kids from the neighborhood, that was my nickname. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. What's your support system today?
My wife is my number one. She's my number one. Like there's nothing better than that. She's the one who pushes me. She's the one who's there when I have a bad day. And we're that for each other, so that's my support system. My wife is.
Coolest car you want to own within the next 5 years?
Well, I just put an order in for this the other day, so I'll have it within the next 5 years. The ZR1 Corvette.
Oh, yeah. What a cool car. Look, if I want to get connected to Chris Welton, if I want to get interested in your coaching program and purchase a book, how do I do it?
So the couple ways. First one is you can connect with me on Instagram at One Hand at a Time. You can shoot me a DM on there. That's me responding. That's not a bot or anything. I have The Undefeated Morning is the name of the new book, but I have a whole blueprint on how to win your morning. It's undefeated. You type in undefeated in the comments on any of my videos or in the DM, and you'll get access to some of that stuff right away. You can always go to my website, which is chriswelton.live, Live. There's a Calendly in there. You can set up a time to have a conversation with me and just request more information. I'm here for you.
That's so cool. Look, Chris, I'm going to tell you, thanks for joining, but more importantly, thanks for letting me watch your journey. Like watching you grow. This last 12 months has been remarkable. Watching the additional stages that you keep continuing to get on, watching your book grow, watching this coaching program grow. I think you're making a big difference in our market. If you don't know Chris, you should. If you have an opportunity to hire him, to bring him into your group, hire him. And Chris, thanks for being on Coaching with Chris.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor, Chris, for sure.
See you guys. See ya.